Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 50 of Absolute Scenes. We've reached our half century at last. This is the second time we've tried to record this, though. We've had an absolute Western super as we started. But Billy, how have you been this week?
Yeah, pretty good. It's back to normal. We've got our final week of lockdown this week in Wales. I know you guys are going into today. And I know you've been sending out some controversial tweets, Tom, which we'll probably get onto later, because there will be when we get onto other news and stuff. But there was one tweet in particular, Tom, which I think's riled you up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to start today with a feature that we usually have later in the show, but now, and it's time for Billy Roach's poll. It's Billy's poll because it's caused fury in my house. The lack of respect for Stockport band Blossoms from Harry Mansell is disgusting. And also, people just completely ignored the competition that I spent literally minutes putting together last week. So we'll go through the answers in case anybody played at home. But again, Billy's just pretend that you don't know the answers now, Billy. So who was the tennis player that won Wimbledon in that year? Well, first of all, what year was it? Let's start with what year, in case I accidentally give it away. What year did you think it was?
The year I actually did guess before you gave the clue when we recorded this earlier, it was 2001. Yeah. So that, for those of you who are struggling now with the rest, that it should give you a clue. And I also gave them a clue last week as well.
Did you know what the song was playing underneath?
No.
It was Gorillaz 2000.
Yeah, I couldn't really hear it. It was more I couldn't hear it underneath. I thought you played a song underneath, but I thought, am I just hearing stuff?
So who was the tennis player then, Billy, that won Wimbledon?
Well, I'm going to pretend that I don't know the answer now and give the same answer that I did earlier, which was, I think, quite fair. I said, was it an American guy? Yes. He beat this American player, and I'm actually going to look it up now whilst.
I was going to say, look it up now. So it was Goran Ivanisevic, or the Croatian tennis player called Goran, who won it in 2001. The free kick Billy gave away last week. It was against Greece. Then Bayern Munich beat Valencia in the Champions League final.
Yeah,
Valencia were also the finalists in 2000, which I didn't remember that at all.
Okay.
And the score in the FA Cup final, in which Michael Owen scored and won it single-handedly for Liverpool, was 2-1, which I remember very clearly from being the first ever FA Cup final that we had Sky Television for. And this is when the FA Cup final was on almost every channel. I think Sky had it as well. And I think it was the first in the Millennium Stadium as well. I remember watching every minute of coverage from 9 a.m. until 6 a.m. and having to go outside at the end because I had a migraine and I hadn't moved all day. But I do remember it being a very enthralling final. So, Billy, who was the tennis player? Have you found out?
I have found out, and I've got egg on my face because he's not American. Oh. He's Australian. Pat Rafter.
Pat Rafter.
So there we are. I must have another.
Rafter.
Yeah, but I was thinking of, and he wasn't even American anyway, but I was thinking of Hewitt, and he's Australian as well.
Right.
So I'm just gonna shut up about tennis now. I'm pretending that I am a PE teacher.
So the poll.
Going to the poll, Tom. It was inspired by you, as I've already told you this story once already, because you've started now. People need to go and find Tom's YouTube channel because he's live streaming a load of games this week. You can go and watch them there. They are. I was going to say, don't tell them, Tom, because obviously you'll get more views. Whereas I think if you tell them it's solitaire, they're probably not going to bother. But one, you've just started doing like new stuff on your channel, haven't you, Tom? And one of the things that you've done was ranking Oasis and Noel Gallagher albums. Again, I won't spoil it. I did watch it. I can't remember what you've done because I don't know the name of the albums. But yeah, it was good. So that's when I got this idea, Tom. I got this idea that you're quite into your British bands, aren't you? And so I asked you to name me your 4 favourite British bands. 3 of them are quite well known. One of them you came out on air on the podcast as being a fan of, which I think was quite shocking at the time. And then another one is quite, as Harry's put out there, Blossoms aren't that well known. So the other two, we have obviously omitted quite a few, but they are Tom's favourites. I just want to point that out now. They are Tom's favourites, not everyone's favourites. There are bigger, obviously, bands which are missing. So do you want to take us through again, Tom? I know I've already heard this one, but we'll go through it again.
Yeah, but now I've practiced it, I think maybe I can condense it a little bit more. So starting off with the Beatles then, they, to me, are like so ingrained in British culture now that their songs are like folk songs. People are born with them in their consciousness. Everybody knows She Loves You or Love Me Do, those kinds of songs from the very early days of the Beatles. They know, or Let It Be, Hey Jude. They're all like national anthems almost. So, and also you can't have the rest of the bands if you don't have the Beatles, because of the influence that they had on music in the 60s and then later on as well. The way that like John Lennon approached it. If you look at some of the stuff that Lennon did in the 70s as well, it's so, if people were to do that stuff now, it wouldn't be that out of place. But at the time, it was like whoa,
innovator.
He was very much,
an innovator,
yeah. There was one time they went to, because everybody was obsessed with John and Yoko, so they dressed themselves up in bags. They put bags over their heads and walked into this hotel, and everyone was like, oh my God, John and Yoko. And then the next day, or they went to a different hotel then in a different country, they dressed two Hare Krishna boys up in bags, and they all thought it was John and Yoko. All the media were following these Hare Krishna boys. But yeah, so that's the Beatles. Then Oasis were the last great band ever. If you watch the film Supersonic, at the very end of that film, there's a clip that shows their gigs at Nebworth, and Noel says, this is the last great gathering of the people before the internet. And, well, with what's going on at the moment, maybe ever. But there's no phones, there's no, it was such a big gig at Nebworth that the people were in a different county at the back of the gig watching Oasis. It was so huge. And you wouldn't get that sort of gathering of people anymore, particularly for music, because there isn't anybody that sort of captures the imagination of the people like Oasis did in the 90s. There's nobody who has like a rivalry like that they had with Blur. Everybody's so nice to each other and everybody's so polished and media trained and everything. It's really, really dull to watch and to listen to. Coldplay, I can accept. I had to come out as a Coldplay fan because it felt like everybody used to scoff every time that I said, well, I actually quite like Coldplay's new album. They're like, I thought you liked music. But they're actually, every album that they've put out for 20 years have had 3 or 4 really great songs on it. And you can make a Coldplay playlist of belters from day one to the last album, that they've been very, very consistent. I know Chris Martin is pompous and he's not very popular. And I don't particularly like him, but the band and the music and the fact that they've been friends since they were university, they've grown up together and they've created some very good music. Yeah. And then Blossoms are the most modern band that I've pinned my colours to their mast. I've said, these are the guys for me. They're cut from a fairly similar cloth, but slightly more middle class than Oasis were. They're from Manchester. They're Manchester City fans. They're normal people, but they're very, very good songwriters. They write very, very catchy tunes. They've had 3 albums out now. I've seen them live 2 years ago, and I would have liked to have seen them on this most recent tour, but didn't get tickets and then got cancelled anyway. So didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah,
but
blessing in disguise.
It's also a shame for lots of bands of this kind of era, Blossoms, Catfish and the Bottlemen are another kind of band that I like, who are 3 albums in but haven't really blown anything up yet. They're all sort of coming into their prime or to their peak now, and they've had a festival summer taken away from them this year. They may have it again next year taken off them. They've had a year's worth of touring taken off them as well.
Yeah. So
unless they're all in their studios writing amazing songs, which could happen, it could be happening. They could both come out with some amazing music now in the next couple of years. But it's a shame that they can't build on the success that they've already had But
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about those 4 bands then, Billy. Sorry for taking up all your time, but there you go.
I mean, just like we have recorded this part of the podcast
Yeah.
already, and that's the condensed version. So you can imagine how long the podcast would have been if we didn't have to record it again.
Yeah.
So just one thing I wanted to touch upon, Tom, there was that's when I go to concerts and even any sort of events where, as you said, the gathering of the people is I hate people who are watching the concert or whatever it is through their mobile phones. It's probably, we'll pin that in the flag on the post on the wall for another day, but it was just something that more and more when you go out, it's something that I really hate. What is it? Is it Room 101? That'd be in there for me.
I will say the last gig that I went to was a Manchester night in February. I don't know if I spoke about it on here, but
to me at least.
I couldn't believe how many, these were 3 tribute bands, and so many people were filming these tribute bands. They're just some blokes who are really good at playing music, but they're just playing it. There's like a jukebox. If you listen to one of their songs, it'd be awful, dire.
Yeah.
But and Paul McCartney said the same when me and Jenny went to watch him. He said, I can tell when I'm playing a Beatles song because all I see is all these little lights all over the arena. And then when I'm playing one of my new songs, it's like black hole. So But anyway, we've gone well off topic.
But going back to the original question, normally the polls don't last this long. It's just something that was close to Tom's heart. So I'd let him voice his opinion. Tom, did you vote on the poll? Before?
I did.
So the options, just to go over them again, were the Beatles, Oasis, Coldplay, and Blossoms. Which one did you vote for, Tom?
I voted for the Beatles because you can't have any of the others if you don't have the Beatles.
Okay, and you already know the answer, so I'm not going to tell you to guess who won. But there were 17. That's 17 people voted on the poll, and it was 1 for Blossoms and 1 for Coldplay because they had 6% each, so that equates to about 1 vote each. The Beatles had 35%, and then Oasis had 53%. So Oasis were the clear winners. But as you said, Tom, they are probably the more modern band, and I think a lot more people probably listen to them now. I played a few songs, when I've been doing like circuit training and stuff like that with my classes, and Oasis you could put on and they'll know, like Wonderwall, and they'll know the big hits and stuff. But if you want to hear more about Oasis and Tom's thoughts on music, go to his YouTube channel, which is called Tom
Raps Every Weekend.
The same as his podcast. See there, Tom? Plugged it in. Moving from one poll, Tom.
Hang on 1 minute, Billy. I've got link to your poll. I think we might even have it, as a bit of a quiz. Can everybody name all of the songs that are played in the following clip? Hey, Bungalow Bill. Some might say your girlfriend. Oh, yellow. Hey, Bungalow Bill, your girlfriend. Some might say your girlfriend is all yellow.
There we are. So just as a precedent, if no one votes on this, Tom is now going to just give up with editing things. So please, someone please get in touch, just so Tom doesn't feel disheartened.
It's quite easy because the titles of all the songs are in that clip. so literally, I'm spoon feeding you. If you can't get that, I'm really not going to bother. I've differentiated it as far as I can. It's 7 seconds long. If you've got all the titles, just tell me what they are.
And we'll probably share it. We'll probably share it separately on our social media stuff, just so that people can put in the comments and stuff. But as I was saying, look, Tom, I set up a perfect transition there, and you've just stomped all over it. And even though we did this bit already, and I forgot about that bit. But yeah, so moving from one poll to another, not Polish. How are
you spelling poll there?
So you've already asked me this. So the poll that I do every week is POLL, but obviously there is a poll as in POLE as well.
Yeah. Of course, Donald Trump didn't know which poll was which. And did you see as well that there lots of Polish politicians and newspapers replied saying we're still open?
Yeah. It's been good. Have you been following it, Tom, at all?
Yes, absolutely. I woke up at 5 a.m. yesterday morning to follow it. I think I I was trying to think back to previous American elections. The first one I can remember is in 2000 when Al Gore lost to George Bush.
Yeah.
Because it just so happened on that day, I went to the Millennium Dome with school.
Okay.
And we had to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, to the bus was leaving at 6 or something mad like that. So I remember getting up and seeing like all this frenzy on the news then. I don't remember 2004 at all. I remember the build up to 2008. I don't remember actually following Obama winning.
Yeah.
2012, I watched in university through the night. I left it on as I slept. 2016, I remember getting up at like 4:30 to watch it. So I think it's become a little bit of
a tradition.
Tradition for me, yeah. And I was thinking as well, the last time there was an American election, I was working in South Wales. I've worked in 4 different schools since then in 4 years. I told this to my class, and they were like, "What? So you just get sacked every year?" I said, "No." I said, I've worked in one school for 3 years as well, but I've worked in 4 schools in 4 years. And they were like, "What?"
Yeah.
So it's a bit like a riddle. So basically, I wasn't in that first school for very long, and I haven't been in this school for very long. So that's one. And it was
that's what it is.
For a little while. So, but it was as predicted. There was no result on Wednesday morning.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Wednesday morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
But what I did want to see was Trump speak and Biden speak, and my gosh, was it worth staying up for? Did you see what they said?
Yeah. It was. So I followed it as well, and just to give similar to you, the last election I'd been in America, so it was I followed that one I think a lot more. I followed this one a lot more closely as a result of the last one as well. The system obviously out there is a lot more complex to what we have here. So it's not just a simple popularity vote. It could end up the same as last time, where the popular vote doesn't win again if Trump wins the way it's going at the minute. Because when we're recording, they still haven't decided. So
sorry to butt in there, but Biden has just won Wisconsin, literally as we've been speaking. So he's now on 253. So he's now only 17 college votes, electoral college votes away. So
it depends.
It's
it depends
looking
as
more
well.
And more likely that it will be Biden.
It depends what you watch as well, because I've rather than watch it through BBC and things like that, I've been watching CNN, and he's had Wisconsin since yesterday with them. So he's been on 253 on various news sources, and on other stuff he's even further. You know, they're giving him Arizona. I was looking through the paper, getting ready for the other feature that we do, and they've already given in the paper that my parents get. They've given him Arizona. They've given Biden Arizona. So each place is, because it's a project at the minute. It's still a projected vote result, if that makes sense. So it does change quite daily. But it's interesting. I enjoy it just from the mathematical point of view, and if this happens and this happens and stuff. But you were saying about the Trump's interview. Tom.
Yeah, so Biden came out and spoke first around about 5:30 GMT, and was quite magnanimous. Didn't say this, this isn't a victory parade. I'm not announcing that I've won, but we think we are going to win, which is fair enough. He was ahead in a lot of places. He was ahead at the time with the Electoral College, and then Trump comes out at 7:30, so 2 hours later. And I was like ready to go for work. I knew he was going to be on. I was like, I have my coat on, standing by the telly, watching him. And it was the weirdest speech I've ever heard. I did try and get a clip of it, but we'll have to talk just
reenact
it. It was just mad, wasn't it? Because he just spoke. Well, we were ahead in this place, and we were ahead in this place, but then we started losing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know what happened, because I've been watching the Americans talking about, and again I've been watching. I think CNN's on one of the coasts, so I think they are definitely more Democratic than Republican. They have got a couple of Republicans on there and stuff, but the way they've been saying it is a lot of the places have done the in-person votes first. They've counted them, which are historically more Republican than Democratic. And the postal votes, or the absentee votes, as they call them in America, are more Democratic. So because they've counted all of the in-person votes first, Trump, for example, like in Pennsylvania and in Georgia, he was miles ahead. But now they're counting the postal votes. Trump's still getting votes, but Biden's getting more of those votes, and he's slowly decreasing the gap, which is why in some states, so I think it's in Pennsylvania and Georgia, he's saying stop the vote, which is trending all over Twitter. But then in Nevada and Arizona, he's saying keep counting, because he's actually catching up in those states.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of them are saying he's saying one thing for one and one thing for another. He's obviously put in a loads of lawsuits as well, because Pennsylvania is one of those examples where they're saying there's been some sort of fraudulent thing. He's been throwing the word fraud out here, there, and everything. Yeah. Michigan and Wisconsin, I think, are two of the other ones he's been saying. Basically, I think any of these swing states now, because Michigan and Wisconsin were swing states originally as well, even though they've been flipped now from Republican last time to Democratic this time. So he's saying he's gonna, he's contesting them, and any of these other ones now that I think that he loses, he'll contest them as well. So that's what they're saying in America. Because trust me, Tom, watching it through an American news site is one of the most painful things, because even though what you're saying, you get a better grasp of what's going on, but the adverts, it's literally, they'll say, right, this is happening, and we're going to go for an ad break. And you're like, just
come on,
just have a massive ad break for like 20 minutes and then come back and just tell me everything all at once.
Well, this is why I know it's completely off topic, but that's why I don't watch the Super Bowl. It's because they have a special break in the game to watch some adverts, and I know that they get lots of money. I'm also very, very conscious now, Billy, because I looked at our analytics the other day.
Yeah.
Nearly half of our listeners come from America, so I'm going to be very cautious about what I say.
What you say, yeah.
The tweet from Trump yesterday that made me laugh the most was this. I'm going to read it word for word. Last night I was leading, often solidly, in many key states. In almost all instances, Democrat run and controlled. Then, one by one, they started to magically disappear as surprise ballot dumps were counted. Very strange. And the pollsters got it completely and historically wrong. So there was lots of replies to this tweet saying, I ordered a pizza last night, and then one by one, each piece disappeared. Very strange. Or it was, I ate at lunchtime, and then I was gradually, hour by hour, I became more hungry. Very strange. So
it is again, because I think I've been watching a Democratic news site as well. They're obviously, I think, because it is, I was talking to someone in work today, the bias in the news, in America is, there are definitely, right, this station is this and this station is this in terms of the election and stuff. Because it's, you see it all the time about them reporting about Trump, or they're reporting about the Democrats and blah, 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 blah. So it is interesting, but whatever happens now, because they're all saying, right, count the votes. Because he could say, Trump, even though Biden is 17 electoral votes away, which would be, if he won Nevada and Arizona, he would win. He would get to 270, and he wouldn't need any of the others. He wouldn't need Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, I think, are the other three now, which are still unaccounted for. Whereas if he won Pennsylvania, he'd win. He'd be, obviously, that's 20 electoral votes, so he'd win. But that's, I think, the one that's the most controversial for some reason at the minute. I don't quite entirely understand. But yeah, Trump has to win Pennsylvania to have a chance of being president still, which whatever the outcome is, we'll obviously discuss next week. It's interesting to see and stuff, but go on.
I quite like watching it because it is like a real life soap opera, a real life drama, and it has no impact on our lives, really. Very, very minimal impact. But I do feel sorry for people who are affected by it, because it's not just, they don't know if it's Trump or Biden. Their whole democracy is on hold now, and it is under a microscope from the whole rest of the world. Russia are laughing at them because they think they pride themselves on this. There's even, I think, Afghanistan newspapers are running stories today saying, well, they've tried for many years to make us a republic, and then all of a sudden their democracy is crumbling because they can't run an election while a pandemic is going on. It's quite frightening, really, to be watching.
Yeah. Well, by the time we finish recording this, there could be more votes have announced and things. It could already be set up by the time this podcast goes out, so that all of this could be just null and void for what we just said. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on from there, Tom. you want to? We just spoke about news. I'm just dictating what we're going to do now, Tom. In case you haven't realised.
Yeah.
Are you going to play the jingle?
I'm going to hit the jingle.
Denmark government are allowing sex with domestic animals. Malcolm Pike left an address at where he was. The Brazilian Chico Rodriguez has stuffed 10,000 pounds. The government are banning babies to own businesses. A Dutch football team is not allowed to be sponsored by sex toys. A 3-year-old has been swept off by a kite. Bears.
It's time for Believe It or Not.
You are fake news.
Fake news, Billy. Hit us with it. Believe it or not.
Quite fitting that we've just spoke about Trump and he ends and starts Believe It or Not.
I wanted to make another one, sting. So when we talk about COVID too much, that it's just him for about a minute, just going COVID, 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 COVID. Have you seen him doing that last week? Every time anybody brought it up, he just kept going COVID, 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 COVID.
So anyway, so I've got the three news stories. I think, Tom, that you're going to get this. I think this is probably one of the easier ones out of all of them. So I'm just waiting because I've had to move locations. The sites that to give you the information from, I've got to reload again. So give me a second. But so I've got Sausage King is killed with crossbow. Police called to reports of a man wielding a machete discovered it was a leak. And babysitter accused of theft after eating employers' food in all of employees' food in less than 3 hours. Sorry, that it's a mouthful.
All of
that
the
one.
food.
Yeah.
Okay. In 3 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so who is the Sausage King, Billy?
So the Sausage King is Vladimir Maragov, who's a Russian mobster, and he's the meat boss, as he's referred to, and he was killed early on Monday by a crossbow, as I said.
Where?
In his home near Moscow.
Convenient.
Convenient indeed.
What's that? A city in Russia, you say? It must be Moscow. Okay. Right. I'm assuming that the machete for a leak story happened in Blaina Festiniog.
No, it actually happened in Aberdeen. So
what was his name? Jock McLeaky.
I don't think the man has been named at the time of the podcast being recorded, so I can't issue that information, Tom. But if you want him to be called Clive McLeagley or whatever you said, then we can go with that.
Okay. So where did the machete/leak attack take place?
So it was in a like a convenience store or in a shop. He went into the shop and was wearing a mask and went to buy these leeks. And obviously a leek looks like a machete, apparently, that famous vegetable. And the police were called because the machete/leek was obviously a weapon. So, yeah.
Okay. I can believe that, kind of. Leeks are very, very potent vegetables. So the babysitter that ate all the food in this person's house in 3 hours, everything.
Yeah. So they ate about $1.5 grand worth of food.
What?
Yeah.
By themselves?
By Barbara Smith, her name is 51-year-old.
47-year-old Barbara Smith.
No, 51.
51, sorry.
Yeah. From Leicester, was babysitting 2 young children whilst their parents were off enjoying themselves before
gallivanting.
Gallivanting, and she's set to face 5 years in prison or a fine of 27.5 grand. The trial is scheduled for December.
That doesn't sound very fair. So she ate £1,000 worth of food and she gets fined £27,000. What's the crime?
Negligence, child endangerment, and theft.
So what kind of thing?
Do you want to know what she ate?
things, yeah, exactly. What kind of thing?
The statement is, her employer told her that she could take some of the baked goods that they'd had, or the crisps, or things like that. But they never said that anything about the 12 packets of bacon, or the 3 giant tubs of ice cream, or the 18 frozen pizzas in the freezer. Sorry.
Hang on, what? 18 frozen pizzas? What? Are they living in a co-op?
Well, you have heard of people hoarding a lot of stuff, so I'm guessing that.
Oh.
But yeah, so she spent all of her time cooking and eating, basically.
Now that to me sounds like the fake one now. Because sure, 18 frozen. Yeah, but there are some scutters out there in the world. Email in if you've ever had 18 pizzas in your freezer.
I mean, I can testify that I think in our freezer at the minute, and I don't eat pizza, and neither does my dad, but I think there's easily 10 because my brother
10?
just bakes. Yeah.
Oh my god. We've got quite a small freezer, and I suppose the freezer in my house would have been quite small. If I had 10 pizzas in my freezer, it would be full of pizza. There would be nothing else in there. Have you got like one of these big chest freezers?
Yeah, we've got one of them. But obviously, but this just says 18 pizzas. I'm just thinking, are they the little? Because obviously they've got 2 children. Are they their little thingy? Like the little
Chicago town pizzas.
Yeah, or like the Tesco value little. I'm just going off what you guys ate in uni. I have no idea what they're called, Tom.
Okay, so I'm torn between. Believe it or not, I believe that the machete being mistaken for a leek is true. So I'm torn between the Sausage King. What was his name again?
Vladimir Muragov. I'm not.
Yeah, so I think if you were going to think of a Russian name, you'd say Vladimir. Where does he live in Russia? Near Moscow. I think that I'm going to go for the Sausage King being fake, but I think, and he did say I'd get it.
Yeah,
and that seems like a very, very easy one, but I can't stop thinking about 18 frozen pizzas and being fined so much money for eating a bit of food. Okay. What did you say? 5 years in prison as well?
Or it's either or.
Oh, well, that's one very expensive snack.
Yeah. So
and she ate it all in the house when she's looking after the baby as well, after the children. She must have done.
Yeah.
Well, imagine coming back to that. Imagine coming back to your house and just seeing this big whale with tubs of ice cream and packets of pizza and bacon all around. My god.
Fantastic. So, just what are you going for, Tom?
So I'm going to go for the Sausage King being fake.
Being fake, right? So you were correct about Aberdeen and the machete wielding leek, or the bag of leeks being mistaken for a machete. That is correct. That was. There's apparently CCTV footage available somewhere. I have yet to be able to find it. Otherwise, I'd have shown you it. But that's it. But police in Scotland said it has established that no crime took place and no further action was needed. That's quite good to hear that the machete wasn't like launched at someone instead.
But within the leak.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Tom, I've got you again.
No.
My skills of waffling on have gazumped you once again. Again, I'm just literally picking numbers off the top of my head and going, yeah, there was this and this and this. Forgetting that we have a chest freezer here because of the cafe, and going, oh crap, I've made the mistake here now saying 18. The Sausage King, unfortunately, intruders broke into the tycoon's home and reportedly tortured him before killing him with a crossbow. He was apparently they tied him and his partner in the sauna and demanded money before killing him with the crossbow. So our thoughts.
Oh my god,
it's really gruesome. But the headline,
you've made a mockery of royalty.
I was like,
of sausage royalty.
This headline is really weird. Sausage King killed with a crossbow. I was like, that's got to go. And because I'd already found the leaks, I was like, all right, I've got food. I've got 2 food ones now. I've just got to make something up in regards to food and stuff. And Barbara Smith from Leicester. There probably is one, but I apologise if I've offended you as well. So yeah.
Oh man, well you created a very vivid image in my head, Billy, of that,
Barbara.
So, yes, very very unfortunate. So well done, Billy. You're the best at this game. I think I've won once. Is it? maybe twice.
I think you've got one right. I think I've had one right so far. I'm quite proud of this. That my my skills of waffling have got me out of this and stuff. But
I bet there's people who are definitely shouting down their podcast listening platforms
devices
at me.
Yeah.
But
let us know.
say,
let us know on the comments or whatever if you have actually got more than Tom right. I presume quite a few people will have done. Because he's only had one right out of the whole. I don't know how many we've done now.
I think it's
got to
be done about 10.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about 10. So 9-1 to me. It's almost like nearly a cricket score, Tom.
Yes, indeed. Right, moving on from all of our regular features. Then time to give something a little plug. You may have noticed that it's November. And this is my 9th time, apparently, according to the Movember website, of growing a moustache. Some years I've done it properly, some years I've done it less properly. But I am planning to try and donate some money. You may have heard at the beginning of this podcast a bit of an advert saying that every one listen will donate £1 to Movember during the month of November. So over the last couple of months, that'd be over £100, which would be quite nice. But also we're encouraging you to donate as well. So for every time you listen to a whole podcast, why not donate £1 to Movember just to
help the cause.
Help the cause, yeah, that's it. So
I got you, Tom.
What it is, if people don't know, it's a men's health charity to encourage people to talk about their health, to encourage men to talk about their health. That's what it always used to be, but now there's more of a focus on mental health as well, and sharing and encouraging men to talk about their mental health, particularly at the moment. And that's why I'm doing lots of live streams at the minute as well. Not that I'm raising money, but just to offer some people support it, because there's a lot of people who will be very lonely now for the next month or so in England with this lockdown. So if we can help in any sort of way with these podcasts or with my YouTube channel, then we're more than happy to do so. So the link to donate is in the description of this podcast, and all the podcasts now, I think, as well from now on, and it'll be on YouTube as well if you're watching on YouTube. So please do feel free to donate a little bit if you can. We know that things are very difficult as well at the moment. But yes, so you can't see it at the minute. I think you can see a little bit of a shadow. I'm just looking at my little picture there.
You can see a little bit, Tom. I know, but I normally do it as well. But unfortunately, my passport photo I have had to have done, and I thought I can't. And on top of that, when I shave, I look like basically a sixth form pupil, and I don't really want to get confused with one of them and not allowed into school, because at the minute in Wales, only years 7 and 8 are allowed in. So I thought I'd better keep my beard for the time being, at least. But yeah, I think last year I did it because I ran the Cardiff Half and grew my beard out and dyed my beard purple when I ran
government are allowing.
Sorry, Billy. I tapped my earphones again.
Again, like we're doing this. This is a reoccurring thing now. But yeah, it's a great cause, and I know Tom. I think a few of our friends are doing it as well. So yeah, just like Tom said, for every listener, or is it every listen that we get, Tom? Is that the correct?
Every listen, yeah.
That we'll get. We'll donate £1. So please share the podcast more than ever now. So
yes,
but yeah.
So that's that. We've spoken about polls. We've spoken about the US election. The next thing on my list, Billy, you said there's a VAR incident in the Chelsea game yesterday that you wanted to share. This is maybe we should get another jingle for VAR. This week's VAR rant. Yeah,
instead of you've got Trump. Instead of Trump going COVID, you should just go back through all of the podcast episodes of you mentioning COVID and just go VAR, VAR. No, yeah, it was. There was I'm presuming you didn't watch it, Tom. So I'll obviously fill you in. So Chelsea were awarded 2 penalties last night. They won 3-0 on the night. The first one I think was pretty much. Yeah, fine. They checked it. The ref awarded it, and then it was checked, and it was fine. And the player got booked. The name of the player escapes me at the minute. So that was that. But then later on, this is where it differs to the Premier League. I think I can't remember who it was again. Someone shot. Here he is, Big Frank, Super Frank, as we are talking about Chelsea. and it hit the player's leg, and the player was stood like this, and then his arms came down, and the ball ricocheted off his shin up into his arm, and the ref missed it. The ref didn't miss it, but he didn't award anything, and then VAR got in touch and said, you might want to go and look on your monitor and have a look at this, which he did, and the ref decided that it was a penalty, and then had to book that player who had already been booked and sent him off. So this was in the first half, and Rio Ferdinand was in the studio and was livid and was complaining, saying that they're spoiling the game and whatnot, and all the commentators and stuff. So it was quite, me and my dad watching, we were like, yeah, it's you could see what they've done, because apparently in Europe it's if you make your body bigger with your arms. So obviously him standing like this, he's made his body bigger and then it's hit his arm, it's a penalty. Whereas in the Premier League, if it ricochets off you and it's hit your arm, it's not given as a handball. It's different, and that's what a lot of the arguments were about yesterday. Was how can you have? It wasn't VAR itself. It was how can you have one rule for one and one rule for another? Because fair play to the ref. He went. I said to, me and my dad were saying the refs made that decision. It's not someone in wherever it is saying that's a penalty. He's gone to him. You might want to have a look at this again. He's decided and he's interpreted that it's a yellow card and then sent him off. And then after that, then Chelsea just basically strolls to victory. Yeah. Don't you agree, Frank? Yes, he does.
He does agree, yeah. He's a little bit nervous, because the fireworks have just started going off, so that's why he's come in now. He just wants to settle down and be loved. So the VAR incident that I wanted to talk about was one I saw this morning on Instagram, I think it was, or Twitter, and it was of Nani, formerly of Man United fame. Do you know where he's playing now?
I want to say China. Or no, he's not. He's playing in America, isn't he?
He's playing in America.
Yeah. Is he playing for Orlando?
He is, yeah. Well done, Billy. Orlando City. And he made a tackle. I think he was in possession of the ball, lost it, and sort of lunged, but won the ball. Went through his man a little bit afterwards. But it was not even a foul. Yeah. The referee blew for a foul against Nani and gave him a yellow card. Nani was furious at the time of the yellow card, saying, I got the ball. I won the ball really cleanly. It wasn't even a foul. The referee goes over to the screen at the side of the pitch and looks at it. It comes back and gives him a red card.
Oh, my God.
And Nani breaks down on the floor crying. Like, he's ashamed to get a red card. But, wasn't a red card.
That's the thing is, that's what I was saying to my dad last night. I was like, a lot of it now was they were all complaining about the ref watching it and blah, blah, blah. And all this. So I said, well, he's interpreted. He's used the monitor, which what we were crying out for them all to do last year in the Premier League. He went and did that. Granted, it seems as though both decisions, in our opinion, weren't red cards, but that's what the refs decided. So it's a case of it's only the same as, the ref deciding, it's a penalty and it was outside the box and sort of thing before all this stuff. But another football incident, not that I want to stay on VAR for too long, that you wanted to talk about was a man famous in Chelsea fans for the slip, not Gerrard, but the other man in the slipping incident was Demba Ba. What can you tell us? What a fantastic goal.
It's so seismic, the goal that as he scored, that all the headlines on BBC Sport and stuff today are, what next for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? It was that ridiculous a goal. So I don't know how they managed to do it, but Man United had a corner or a free kick or something and left no players back whatsoever. So Demba Ba,
I think they left,
and not even
they left.
Matic was kind of
Matic. So they left Matic. Matic was basically, I think it was a free kick. He was like playing right back, and Demba Ba was like, "Well, I'm just going to go and stand on the centre circle," and stood on the centre circle.
Yeah, when you leave a player back, you tend to leave them in the middle so that they can get to either side if the ball comes loose. But you often don't leave just one player back. And if you do leave a player back, you'll have somebody within 30 or 40 yards of that other player. But Man United thought, nah, don't need that. So they literally everybody was in the box. And then Matic was at right back. And Demba Ba just had a complete free reign of the pitch and scored one of the strangest goals I've ever seen. And then, for Man United to lose to a team like Istanbul Başakşehir, who were
they were in the Europa League last year. And I think they did quite well. They got through to the quarter-final stage, same as Wolves. So they must be amazing.
They're going to win the Champions League next year, apparently, according to you.
There's been some very, very strange results over there just in football in general. And I don't want to keep banging on about it, but Wolves have been pretty consistent. I know that we're down in 5th or 6th at the minute because of how congested the top of the table is. But that's the thing. It's the same with Chelsea as well.
It's the same with Chelsea as well. But now it's the first time I think Chelsea have had 5 clean sheets. And the last time that happened was when Petr Cech was in goal, and we went on this massive, unbeaten run.
It's because they've re-signed him, that's why.
It's because exactly. So we're now being linked with. Well, they were talking at the end. Oh, what do you think of Chelsea's chances of winning the Champions League? And I'm like, 2 weeks ago we were on about Lampard getting sacked and Pochettino and other people coming in, and it's like, and obviously now it's Solskjaer's turn to have all that stuff. It's at the minute it's so inconsistent and stuff, but it's for the neutral, as we were saying about the election in America. For the neutral, people are probably just going, this is great because you don't know what's going to happen and stuff. On that note as well, the Six Nations, Tom, concluded this weekend. England won that. But I did a predict the score for the tour that never happened. But I still awarded the points. The prize is still going to be awarded. They had to predict the 3 scores of the weekend. And the tiebreaker was to guess how many points Italy scored over the whole tournament. And they did this. They had to hand these in before the tournament started back in, at the start of the year and stuff. But obviously now it's only just concluded. And I think I had probably about 100 of these tickets that we sold for the tour and stuff. Out of all of those tickets, Tom, how many people do you think guessed that Wales would lose to Scotland?
0.
No, but you're close. You're actually close. 2.
1.
So
2, yeah.
2 people. So all I had to do was look for the people. I didn't realize at the time, but I was looking through and going to try and find who was, because I thought, it's going to have to be the closest. But 2 people had all 3 scores right. Not scores. Had all 3 results right is the correct way to say it. They had Italy losing to England, France beating Ireland, and Wales losing to Scotland. And then the winner actually, he had Wales as, I think they had 10 on the night in the Scotland game. He got that right. Yeah. Italy had 6. He predicted 6 and they had 5. So he was pretty close in terms of the scores. And then he was only, I think, 2 points out for the amount of points Italy scored over the whole tournament. So I was quite impressed with that prediction, Thomas. So I'd put that in there and stuff. And he's won £100, Tom, for doing that.
Wow. I did watch the Wales game on Saturday. I watched most of it, but then, of course, it was Boris making his speech at 4:00.
Yeah.
No, 5:00. No, it's 6:30. No, 7:15. So I turned off when Scotland had a penalty, didn't they, in the last couple of minutes. I turned off because I thought, well, that's it, they've lost now. But it was so weird watching them, not play in the Millennium, in Parc aux Scarlets. Yeah. It was very strange to see that. It was horrible to see Alan Wynne come out for his, was it 194th or 149th cap, something like that?
Yeah, record.
It was the world record for international caps to come out in an empty stadium was a little bit heartbreaking. Yeah. But what I found was really good was how good the singing of the national anthems were from the players. They were, both teams were very, very good singers. I think they should release albums.
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch it, Tom, because Chelsea were playing Burnley in the Roach Derby at 3 o'clock.
Who won that?
So I was watching.
I imagine it was Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea won that.
Do you think Burnley going to stay up? They're really struggling this season, aren't they?
I can't comment on that because I think I will be shot if I say what I think is going to happen. So that probably. But I'm just looking at the time, Tom, and I think we've gone over our normal time, a lot of time that we spend and stuff. So do you want to end with? This week we're going to have to both recommend because we forgot to do it last week.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Billy. I'll go second, and my recommendation is just going to be a song to play us out with. That's by Blossoms that everybody needs to go and listen to. So
there we are. And mine's pretty quick as well because I've just finished reading Fight Club. I've read the book. I don't know if it's one of my favorite books. I've reread the book. Have you seen the film?
I've seen bits of it, but ironically, I kept falling asleep in it, which I know it's about insomnia, isn't it? So, but I kept falling asleep.
So I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but if anyone, because I've been talking about it in work and stuff, because I've been reading it again, and a lot of people haven't seen it or read the book either. You know, a lot of people haven't read the book, but in terms of seeing the film,
You're not allowed to talk about it.
Highly recommend people go and watch Fight Club, as Tom says, because the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So I'm breaking the first rule. So basically, you need to go and do it. And it's the first and second rule. So please go and watch or read that. So go on, Tom. Your recommendation?
So my recommendation is the introduction to Blossoms. I think it was their first really big hit called Charlemagne. And so we'll be seeing you all next week. And this is an extract from Charlemagne. Bye-bye.
Bye.